What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So later on today, Summer Game Fest will happen, and we're expecting a bunch of different game announcements. While there has been some downplaying to the hype around it, it does seem like we will have some pretty fun reveals. In fact, we'll go over some of the stuff that's already leaked here today. Also, we are going to be talking about an awesome Nintendo Switch update that was dropped last night out of nowhere, adding some absolute classic titles to the NSO service, and Halo. We've discussed it a lot recently with 343, but now there are rumors once again swirling that it could indeed be making the jump to other platforms with, well, the first entry. So if you guys enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button, helps out a ton. And if new here to the Spawn Wave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And of course, members for the channel do get Newswave early. If you'd like to learn more about that, click the join button down below this video. And we're going to start today with BioWare and Dragon Age. BioWare, I feel like, really needs a win after what happened with Anthem and, well, Mass Effect Andromeda. It hasn't been great for them recently, but it does appear that they're setting up for a really interesting reveal for Dragon Age, because now they've even gone as far as to just change the name. We can see this posted up over on their website, where they start at the top that summer's nearly upon us, and as promised, we're ready to provide an update on our big reveal. We'd like to invite the world to join us on Tuesday, June 11th, for the official first look at gameplay for the next Dragon Age. Now they go on to describe the new game with the main character, of course, as well as 7 unique characters that make up your companions. They'll have deep and compelling storylines where the decisions you make will impact your relationships with them as well as their lives. So to capture what this game is all about, we changed the name as the title didn't show just how strongly we feel about our new heroes. We proudly introduce you to Dragon Age the Veilguard. I mean, this is it for them. I really hope again this works well, because then they also have Mass Effect coming up way in the distance. They have to get Dragon Age out first. And I wouldn't be shocked if Dragon Age actually got a release date sooner maybe than people were expecting. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if this came out at the end of this year, maybe first quarter of next year, but I think we are closer to this thing releasing than people are anticipating. So I'm interested, curious to see what they come up with next week on the 11th when they're ready to show full-on gameplay. Also, we did have another remaster announced. This one was certainly out of left field because it's for Yooka, and it has a very odd, we'll say unconventional name for it. We can see this, though, over on IGN, where they say Banjo-Kazooie's spiritual successor, Yooka, is getting a remaster. Here's a first look. So they have some like screenshots for it, and the idea here, of course, they're remastering the 2017 Yooka, and they say that it's more beautiful than ever, so they've improved the resolution, the visual performance, that sort of thing. Maybe it hits 120 frames, again, we'll see. New and improved challenges, new collectible currency, navigating the world is easier with a brand new world map and challenges tracker, revised controls and camera, and get this, it's called Yooka Replaylee. I mean, it's sure, okay, it's not exactly, it doesn't exactly roll off the tongue, but I get the idea here to sort of have that play on words of replaying for Yooka. Again, not really a remaster I was necessarily looking for, but I thought the original from 2017 was okay. It played into the ideas that were put forth by Banjo-Kazooie at that time, with kind of that of course 3D platformer collectathon. So I don't necessarily have the pull to go back to it, but maybe I'll check out how the reviews go over for Yooka Replaylee, and then decide from there after we see how it turns out. Oh, and we did get some updates for Game Pass, of course, for the month of June, because what you can see here over on the website, they've now added Octopath Traveler and Octopath Traveler 2. We can also see, moving up to June 12th, depersonalization on PC. On June 13th is Sanzo on cloud, console, and PC. The Callisto Protocol, cloud, console, and PC. And then June 18th, Still Wakes the Deep, cloud, PC, and Xbox Series X and S. Obviously, Octopath Traveler 1 and 2, big highlights here, but also don't sleep on the Callisto Protocol. If you saw it and heard about, the reviews and stuff with it, it wasn't exactly maybe what people were hoping for it to end up being, to go alongside of Dead Space. I still think it's an interesting and fun game to check out if you are a Dead Space fan, with that sort of third-person action horror style game, and the visuals in Callisto Protocol are very impressive. I'd say certainly worth a download here, along with Octopath Traveler 1 and 2. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with Summer Game Fest that'll be airing later on today, 2 p.m. Pacific time, 5 p.m. Eastern, and about 2 hours apparently is what Jeff Keighley was saying. So it still seems like it's going to be a longer show for one that he's already downplaying maybe the hype level around the announcements or updates for current games. But still, we don't have E3, so this is kind of part of the not E3 time period to at least give us something, I guess, to look forward to here with announcements that the Xbox Showcase and Nintendo Direct and Ubisoft Forward, maybe a few other things sprinkled in there. But still, we are hearing about some games that'll be there, and yes, one of those does include that LEGO Horizon game. In fact, we can see this over on D-Labs with Bill, who had the report here, also citing a few others who leaked out a little bit of information around this one. So we can expect LEGO Horizons Adventures to be announced later on today at Summer Game Fest. And interestingly enough, this is going to be PlayStation 5 and PC day one release. So the thing that's throwing people off looking at this is, okay, is this a day one release for a Sony PlayStation Studios single player game? Well, technically it will have some form of co-op, as has been described here, with a cross-platform even co-op mode. But it's not a live service game necessarily. It does have the tag that shows up, for example, the ratings where it'll say there's like optional purchases and stuff. Yes, but we see that for all kinds of things that would include even a deluxe edition, which is indeed described here. So that I am looking at this as a non-live service game that is releasing with a Sony first-party IP in collaboration with another studio with LEGO that's releasing on PC day one. So yeah, I guess I would count this as like a non-live service game that Sony has been unsure how they wanted to go down that route, and most times they hold back on a PC release, obviously months and months later, sometimes 3 years later even, in order to still keep the PlayStation 5 front and center. In this case, though, collaborating with LEGO and other studios, that's probably like, hey, we want to get this out there to more people if we can. Let's at least do a PC release alongside of PlayStation 5. But I will tell you this, it wouldn't shock me if Guerrilla co-developed this game with TT, and just to make sure they got everything right. So again, that still to me falls in line with the idea that, yeah, Sony would have a first-party non-live service game release day and date on PC and PlayStation 5. Not necessarily as straightforward as if it was Last of Us Part 3, PlayStation 5 and PC, but still getting closer and closer to that, it seems, and I guess they'll even be able to observe performance when it comes to sales from this title. And to go a bit further, I would actually expect that game to come out later on this holiday even, so we'll keep an eye out for that one later on today at Summer Game Fest. As for 2K, we can see this was actually posted up as Kurakasis was citing Xputer's contacts that 2K will offer Borderlands 4's first ever reveal at the upcoming Summer Game Fest on June 7th. So there you go, Borderlands fans. Get excited. I've kind of fallen out of Borderlands a bit. I will tell you that one. And not necessarily that they're bad games or anything. They just felt more and more the same, really, especially after playing Borderlands 3. But I know there's an audience for it. People really enjoy it. So exciting stuff there for Borderlands fans. As for Sonic fans, well, Sonic Cross Shadow Generations, we can expect to see that, I think, later on today as well, as box art got out there, and we now have a release date that seems to be October 25th, as Bill confirmed this over on X. And for Dragon Ball Sparking Zero fans, unfortunately, it looks like we may not have local two-player in this game, as originally the PlayStation Network was updated, the store listing, where it said 1 to 2 players offline, but then it was updated again to just say 1 player. So unfortunate stuff. I mean, that's just kind of where we are with the store listing that's going back and forth. We could get more information when we actually get the game, like with the release date, and they're ready to talk about all kinds of digital deluxe editions and just put all the info out there as they head towards, I believe, a holiday 2024 release. So here's hoping that store gets updated once again and adds the 2-player offline mode, since that is something that at least has been built on the Tenkaichi series dating back to like the first one, really, where you'd have kind of that split screen 2-player mode where you go against each other. And looking at the different games that seemingly have kind of leaked out a bit early, as well as all the different titles that have been confirmed to be there by the different companies or Jeff Keighley himself, I think he's at least putting together a solid show. but I don't necessarily think it's be anything over the top like how he had the Xbox Series X unveiling at his Video Game Awards show years and years ago, but I think it'll be obviously worth tuning into to get some release dates, updates, and some fun reveal. So we'll see what he has up his sleeve later on this afternoon. Next up, let's talk about a pretty exciting update from Nintendo for NSO, and what's really cool about this is technically it's for the $20 basic tier, as it's all Game Boy games, but it's all Game Boy games from Capcom, and well, you guessed it, you can see here, say 5 classic games featuring the Blue Bomber are now available to play for Nintendo Switch Online members. So we have Mega Man Dr. Wily's Revenge, Mega Man 2, Mega Man 3, Mega Man 4, Mega Man 5, and guess what? They're available, yes, right now. So you can start up your Switch, go into NSO with the Game Boy application, and start playing some classic Mega Man games. No, obviously not on the level of what we've had with Super Nintendo, original Nintendo, nothing like that. But these are still classic games that obviously lean into the classic Mega Man formula, and some of these are bit different than, okay, so they have some quirks to them, like one, they even showed it in the trailer with Mega Man 5 where you're in a spaceship, and I played all these different games different ways. So some of my friends had the different titles, a few of these I ended up going back and playing through emulation because the DMG Game Boy wasn't the greatest when it came to some of these platformers because of the ghosting and just being able to see the screen in general with what at times were a bunch of projectiles on screen that were pretty small. They tried to make some of them fairly large so it was easy to see, but I was really, really deep into it with Mega Man at the time on the original Nintendo and the Super Nintendo. We had like Mega Man 7, Mega Man X, and I wanted to go back and at least try some of the Game Boy games. So yes, later on, fired up the old Game Boy emulator with, I can only imagine the PC I was using at that time. Might have been like a Pentium 4 or something. I'm like, this is a while ago, and played through many of them there as well. But really, really cool announcement here, especially for people who have never played these. I mean, these are good classic Mega Man games to check out. And I do wonder, as we're still waiting to see what the next Nintendo 64 game would be. I know it's, as people mentioned, it's the inferior version of next to Mega Man Legends. It'd be kind of fun to have Mega Man 64 thrown in there to go alongside of these Mega Man Game Boy games, just for fun to drop it in there for nostalgia's sake. I still think Capcom should consider doing a Mega Man Legends collection, but I mean, from what we're seeing, they haven't done anything with these Game Boy games otherwise, so I don't think they're gonna do much with Mega Man 64. Why not drop it onto NSO and just introduce more people to the Mega Man universe? So I think that's one of the better things about these subscription services is there are people who probably never really heard of Mega Man or played Mega Man, younger audiences coming up, and now there's a bunch of games they can just at least try out with zero risk, basically, because they already have NSO. So there you go check them out, and let me know what you think down in the comments if you had a chance to play any of these Game Boy games, maybe even for the first time. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about another classic game, this one though from the original Xbox with Halo Combat Evolved. And I mean, I don't think I have to tell anyone, legendary shooter, obviously in the history of gaming, really took the console shooter to the next level when it came out on the original Xbox as a launch title in 2001. And Microsoft has been hanging on Master Chief as really their console or just brand mascot ever since, although it's really been going through it recently. I know that the Max or Paramount series or whatever has gotten better with Season 2, but that first season hurt it. 343 has hurt the franchise, especially with how Halo Infinite came out, and before that even Halo 5 and 4. But now it seems they may have plans to, I don't want to say reboot the series, but introduce the series once again, maybe even to a new audience. Well, this was posted up by The Verge and Tom Warren, and essentially it all boiled down to this line here that got everyone talking, where it says, "One game that is being considered for release on PS5 is Halo. Sources tell me Microsoft is working on some form of a Halo Combat Evolved remaster that is also being considered for rival consoles." Well, I mean, rival consoles obviously would then be PlayStation 5. And if they are in the early discussions around where they're going to put this game, I mean, it's still ways off, like years and years off, right? Even though it is a remaster, there's still a lot of work that goes into it. You can't just snap your finger and it's done, right? And I am curious the direction they would take a remaster in, or would they be remastering it specifically because they want it to be on a new platform away from the Master Chief Collection, because they already have that Halo Anniversary Edition where you change between old visuals and new visuals on the fly, which is a really cool thing to do there, but like they already have it. So That's all I could think of, is they would do a remaster so they could put it on the PlayStation 5, and I figure the Nintendo Switch 2 at that time, right? And it would allow them to reintroduce or just introduce this game for the first time to a bunch of new gamers. However, following that report, we then had one from Windows Central with Jez Corden, and he kind of refuted this a bit, where we could see this posted up. He says, in my investigations, I can confirm that games like Age of Mythology, Retold, Avowed, South of Midnight, Hellblade 2, and even Starfield, at least as of June 2024, are right now not in active development for PlayStation, despite being perhaps considered, quote unquote, in meetings and discussions. Does that mean never? Maybe, maybe not. I'm not sure Microsoft has nailed down the answers themselves yet to some of these questions, and The Verge report certainly doesn't suggest they have, despite how some have framed it. And here's the thing about that. They can both technically be right. You could consider anything, and it just never materializes, but you did consider it. There's a PS3 version of Gears of War out there because they considered releasing it on the PS3. They didn't, but it's out there. So technically, if you said they're considering Gears of War on the PS3, that would have caused all kinds of shocks online, and it would have been right, but it didn't actually come out. I mean, Halo almost went to the DS, apparently. Like the Master Chief Collection on PS4, like the list goes on and on and on. So I'm not surprised, and honestly, I believe that, sure, Microsoft is considering it. Doesn't necessarily mean that it ever happens. But I will say, if Microsoft did it, it would certainly be a massive shock, I think, to just gaming in general, to see Master Chief make the jump to something outside of PC and Xbox, and you do go to a rival console, as they say here, with PlayStation, and probably on Nintendo's next system as well. But for the Halo brand, it would probably do wonders. I mean, it would obviously spike interest, sales, revenue all around the Halo franchise, and would bring in a whole new player base that might just latch onto it completely. The game itself, the franchise, the lore, it's all still really, really good, despite a lot of stumbling from 343. And honestly, going back and remastering something that already has the core foundation in place might not be a bad move for 343, just to kind of get things back on track for them, but it does sound like they're also working on a brand new Halo game right now, so there's just a lot going on over there, and either way, sounds like we won't really hear much about it for a couple of years now, and, well, they could consider, and then it just never shows up anyway, so I wouldn't think too much about it now, but we'll see what Microsoft and 343 have up their sleeve for Halo. Probably closer to their next generation start in holiday 2026. And before we go to the comment of the day, we'll take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I asked, have you played the original Halo campaign? 64% of you answered correctly and said yes. 36% of you need to go download this game right now and play through the campaign. Wow, 36%. Okay. So, most PCs can play the original Halo, okay? Your Xbox One VCR can play the original Halo. There is good reason to play through it. There are some classic missions in that game. The reveal of the Flood is legendary stuff. The Silent Cartographer is incredible. I'm telling you, when we went through that for the first time, it was amazing to be a part of. And yeah, I do think the original Halo clearly has aged. It's rough around the edges in some places, but I still think it is an awesome first-person shooter experience for anyone who has not gone through it. And guess what? It also has co-op. You can play all the way through the entire thing with a friend, and I do recommend doing that if you have not yet. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Walter, who says, unless you live in a cinema, you don't need 8K. So I also want to put this out there, but like 8K is obviously it's crushed a lot for just being completely unnecessary. It's still technically something you can benefit from if you have a large enough screen or display. Obviously, as you're saying in the cinema, yes, you want ultra high resolution displays, sure. And if you're building out, say, a movie theater in your basement or something, and like, okay, you're thinking 130-inch projector, and yeah, you probably want a very high resolution display, or if you're just going a massive TV, you'd probably look to 8K. But for the vast majority of people who are just using a 55, 65-inch screen in a living room or in a bedroom or something, 4K is going to be plenty, especially since you'll be sitting back, most likely 6, 8, 10 feet. You just won't notice the difference either way. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. We're Summer Game Fest. What are you hoping gets announced there? And then also, what about all these Mega Man Game Boy games dropping into NSO? And Halo, the original Halo. Have you played through that campaign, and what would your reaction be if one day you woke up and news broke that Master Chief was indeed making the jump to PlayStation and Nintendo's platform? Thanks guys for watching. Have a great weekend. I'll see you back here Monday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time for Newswave.